Y'all don't know how hard this is. I wish you did. Hey, you guys, my name's Larisa. I work for a ministry that serves missionaries all over the world. It's called Renew Outreach. So in 2022, for my job, I traveled to a Northeast Africa nation for work. And the main reason we were there is to train the evangelists and the missionaries on some tools that they needed to just better equip them to reach the people that they were trying to reach with the gospel. But days before that trip, I was asked to share about prayer and the power of prayer in reaching people. Many of the men and women in that room had survived war, they had been persecuted for their faith, and even at this point, and we're willing after this point to really go to the ends of the earth to preach the gospel. And so as I began to kind of get different points together for the slides for this kind of prayer portion of the presentation, it felt a little bit like a role reversal. Like, what am I going to be able to tell you that you couldn't tell me? But when I was putting these slides together, the Holy Spirit reminded me of an image that was taken during a prayer meeting at my own personal church. And the picture was essentially a overhead shot looking at a map with a flag, and that flag just so happened to be for the very country that I was asked to do this presentation. And as I was reminded of that, I just started to think like, wait, maybe I actually do have something to offer. So at my local church, I also serve as the missions director, and inside of that role, I was leading our church in different times of prayer, probably twice a year, to pray for different nations. And essentially what I would do is sit down with the Lord and say, all right, Lord, what would you have us to pray for? And just leaving the page blank and allowing him to write wherever and whatever on there. And so at that point, the Lord had put this particular nation, this nation that I was getting ready to go visit, he had put it on that blank sheet of paper probably 5 times. And so I think it was at that point that I saw that the Lord's hand was in it, and that my questions and my doubts about whether or not I should be the one to share about prayer. The truth is he was setting me up, that my small acts of obedience were kind of setting me up to be the perfect candidate for this situation. Fast forward, I'm in the room and I began to speak about prayer and the importance of prayer, which was a wildly humbling experience. But as I began to speak about it and encourage them, I ended with this image of my church praying over this map with this flag from the very nation that I was in. Tears started to well in the eyes of the people that I was looking at. And I even remember somebody rose their hand and they're like, wait, is that your church in the United States? And I was like, yeah, that's my church in the United States. And man, that gets me choked up. Because what I realized in that moment, wow, what I realized in that moment was that God wasn't just setting me up, but he was setting them up. I think the part that struck me the most is that they were overwhelmed, that people that they didn't know, people that they probably would never meet, concerned themselves with them. And God was just giving a gift. He was storing up a treasure on the inside of me to deliver to them. And it was a beautiful gift of love. The very next year, that particular nation went into civil unrest. And the country to this day is still unstable. And the Lord knew. He just knew the encouragement that they needed. He knew and was aware of the impact that our little church would have. It's just devastating, like, to know that on one end of like such a beautiful moment, there was also tragedy, like on the other side of that. But it's really sweet that the Lord knew that. And I know that then brings up like, it could bring up like a question of like, why would God do that? you know? But like the God I know is one that prepares us. He is also a rescuer and he rescues us, but he prepares us to endure. They're still gathering, they're still going, they're still sharing, like in the midst of this. Many of those men are getting their family to safety and they're going back in. That's the crazy part. Like it feels like it cost them a lot more than it cost me. They said yes to some times of prayer in an air-conditioned building. They're saying yes to just something that I don't have to say yes to. And so it's different, but like I get to be a part of that. Like in some really weird, unfair way. That's what I mean by that. Like we get to kind of participate. In the same way we participate with the Lord's suffering. It's just a real sobering moment of a God who's with us, you know, in every moment. And I just don't doubt for a minute that he's with them. I really had no idea what the Lord was planning on the other side of our prayers, and nor did I have any idea of what he might have been planning by me saying yes to a presentation that didn't quite seem like my own. But if I zoom out and I look at the beautiful tapestry of God's master plan, we're always in it. Every single time, we're always in it. And it just makes me wonder what is on the other side of your obedience. What's on the other side of your yes? There's no way for you to know. There's no way for you to even guess. It's always going to be exceedingly better than you could ask or imagine. In this situation, it was so worth it.